Hey, welcome. I'm going to start you out on this pen tool exercise, drawing with pen, pencil, or flare tool, and then I'm going to have you finish that up on your own, or I may finish demoing it during our meeting this morning. But to begin with, we're going to work on this first, drawing straight line segments with the pen tool. And the way that we're going to do that is, I'm going to get this in the middle first. There we go. And this is also, if you don't finish with me or want to go back and review the tutorial, this is the link that's in this particular demo. I'll go in here a little bit closer so you can see it. And I'll save this also somewhere on week 2 so that you can open it and access it if you need to. All right, so the simplest path you can draw with a pen tool is a straight line made by clicking the pen tool to create 2 anchor points. By continuing to click, you create a path made of straight line segments connected by corner points. These are the corner points. So I'm going to go back to Illustrator, and we're going to grab the pen tool. It's right next door to the curvature pool that we just used, and we are going to click. And you'll see that immediately that fill starts to happen there because I have my fill box with a black color in and no stroke. So what I'm going to do real quickly is I am going to swap my fill and stroke, and there we go. Now it's going to stroke rather than fill the shape that we're drawing. This is not exactly going to be an even star because nothing I ever do is that that precise, but we'll see if we can get it close. Yeah, not close at all. But so now you'll notice as I come back to close out my path with the last point, see that the little circle right beside the pen tool? That indicates that I'm closing that path out now by clicking on this anchor point. And there we go. There's the closed path. Now, if I want to, I can also change up those little anchor points by getting the direct selection tool, and I'm going to select this. I'm going to pull this in a little bit, and again I've got the direct selection tool, and I'm going to click on this anchor point, and I'm going to pull this in a little bit, and I'm going to pull this one down, and I'm going to pull this one over. So again, even though you draw something that may not be exactly as you want it, the nice thing about this tool is that you have the ability to change it by simply clicking and dragging on these anchor points. So I don't get too worried if it's not exactly as I would want it to be, and you shouldn't either. Not even close to what I'd really like it to look like, but let's see if we can make it a little bit more funky here. All right, there you go. And then of course, if you select the entire shape, as we learned in our previous video, you can grab one of those anchor points in the selection box, bounding box, and you can click and drag to resize it or to reposition it as well. Now if you hold down the Shift key, that's going to resize it proportionally. Okay. Now, we did all of this. Click again where you want the segment to end. You shift click to constrain the angle of the segment to a multiple of 45 degrees. I had tried that yesterday, and because of my preferences, I wasn't able to make that work, but you can try it on yours and see if you can. And then to complete the path, and we did that by, we can close the path by positioning the pen tool over the first anchor point, which is what we did. A small circle appears, which you saw, and then you click to or drag to close the path. And then to leave the object open, you can control click if you're on a Windows or command click if you're on a Mac, anywhere away from all objects. So again, if I were to get the pen tool, add the pen tool, and I was just clicking and did not want to close the path, then you would command click on the Mac, and that closes that path, or control click if you're on a PC. To leave the path open, you can also select a different tool. So if I had done that and created and selected another tool, that also will leave the path open. All right, now to draw curves with the pen tool. That's a little bit trickier. You can create a curve by adding an anchor point where a curve changes direction and dragging the direction lines that shape the curve. That doesn't even make any sense to me, but it's kind of early. So the length and slope of the direction lines determine the shape of the curve. Curves are easier to edit, and your system can display and print them faster if you draw them using as few anchor points as possible. Now, this is one of the problems that I had with using the pen tool. If I were trying to outline a drawing that I had done, or maybe I've got an image that I've brought in that I'm trying to outline, and to make the line as close to the image as possible, I would use a number of curves, anchor points, and that does make it a little bit more complicated of a shape to for your system to handle. So instead, you draw widely spaced anchor points and practice shaping curves by adjusting the length and angles of the direction lines. So first, again, we're going to select the pen tool, and where we want the curve to begin, and position the pen tool where you want the curve to begin, and hold down the mouse button, which is what we've done. You'll see the first anchor point appears, and the pen tool pointer changes to an arrowhead, which it does. We're going to drag to set the slope of the curve segment we're creating. So if you click and drag, so you see these little directional handles. And this is what they're talking about when you drop that point or let loose of the mouse. What happens is the next point is going to, or the circle or the curve is going to extend in the direction of one of these points depending on where you put the next one. In general, extend the direction line about 1/3 the distance of the next anchor point you plan to draw. And again, we can, all right, so let's say we're going to go this way. And click to add a corner point. Okay, now you can, again, you can go back in and change the direction by manipulating the handle. See, I have my direct selection tool again. And just by changing the direction as well as the length of the handle, you can significantly change the shape and the direction of your curves. This, again, is not an easy, I don't believe it's necessarily an easy tool to master, but you do. With practice, you master it. All right, so positioning the pen tool, B, to drag the mouse button pressed, C, dragging to extend the direction lines. And that's what we've done here. Now to create a C-shaped curve, drag in a direction opposite to the previous direction line. then release the mouse. Alright, so I'm going to get the pen tool and we're going to drag it straight here, and then we're going to come up over here and we're going to drag it down again. To create an S-shaped curve, you're going to drag in the same direction as the previous direction line. Alright, so see, you can tell by my mouse that I have dragged that line up. Dragged, drug, whatever. And so then we're going to go over here, and you can see by dragging up again, I am creating an S-like shape. Continue dragging the pen tool from different locations to create a series of smooth curves. Note that you're placing anchor points at the beginning and ending of each curve, not at the tip of the curve. All right, so let's do this again. I think I mentioned this yesterday. This is the way we used to complete ovals and circles. With 2 anchor points. Let's see if we can make that a little bit better of a circle. Still a bit oval shape, but you get the idea. Remember how easy it was with a curvature tool? Alright, so drawing straight lines followed by curves. Using the pen tool, we're going to click the corners in 2 locations to create a straight segment. Again, getting the pig tool, like the pen tool. There's a straight line. Now we're going to position the tool over the selected endpoint. In Illustrator and InDesign, a convert icon, let's get this. Well, you'll see that, a convert icon. You see that little, looks like a little upside down V. To set the slope of the curved segment you'll create next, click the anchor point and drag the direction line that appears. I'm not sure I understood what they were saying, so. Alright, so I'm going to try and do this the way they've asked us to do it instead of going off on my own tangent here. Alright, so we're going to place a pinpoint here and a pinpoint here. The second pinpoint we're going to click and drag. No, we're not either. And there you go. So again, that's positioning the pen tool, dragging the direction line C, and the new curve segment is completed. All right, so let's do that one more time. I don't know if that was clear or not. So we're going to create a straight line. And then we're going to hover that anchor point over that last, or hover the pen tool over that last anchor point, and you'll see that little upside down V. We're going to click on that and drag. And then the next segment that we click and drag on, click there, and we're going to drag down. And that creates the straight line with a curved segment. And if you don't do control click or command click, every time you click on your artboard, you're going to create a new pinpoint. So you want to make sure that you do that to end out the path. Now we're going to draw a curve followed by straight lines. And again, using the pen tool, we're going to drag to create the first smooth point of the curved segment. So we're going to click and drag to create the first smoothed point of the curved segment. And then we're going to release the mouse or the trackpad, which is what I'm using. And then we're going to reposition the pen tool where we want the curved segment to end. And we're going to click and drag to create the curve, and then release the mouse button. And then do a control or command click to end that segment. And I'll do it the way they've done it so you can see. All right, so I'm going to click. We're dragging the first smooth segment. And then we're going to position the pen tool over the selected endpoint, which is this anchor point right here. And you see that little upside down V, and you're going to click. And then we're going to go over here, E, to click, and that creates our straight line. And control click to get rid of that, or to end that path. All right, now we're going to draw two curved segments connected by a corner. And again, using the pen tool, we're going to drag to create the first smooth point of a curved segment. Click and drag. Now we're going to reposition the pen tool and drag to create a curve with a second smooth point. Then we're going to press and hold Alt if you're on a Windows or Option if you're on a Mac. Towards its opposing end to set the slope of the next. Now this is the next curve slope that we're creating. Then we're going to release the key and the mouse button. Then we're going to reposition the pen tool where you want the second curved segment to end, and drag a new smooth point to complete the second segment.